Hello and welcome to Ask Your Academic. Today's session will cover the MSc Cancer Research and Precision Oncology and the MSc Cancer Research with Specialisms. We're joined by some of our academic teaching team, so they'll do their best to answer any questions you have about the programmes. If you've got any questions that are specific to like scholarships, admissions, things like that, I'll pop some useful links into the chat. We've also got our online PG event coming up on the 3rd of March. And we'll have various sessions running there that might be useful also for you. We are recording this session, so please don't panic if you miss anything. We will share that shortly afterwards. And don't panic because we've also got an email address that you can get in touch with us if you've got any further questions. So I'll not take up any more time. We'll get our panel to introduce themselves and then we'll get into some of the questions that have been submitted. So Laura, would you like to kick off?
Absolutely. Morning, everybody. I'm Dr. Laura Richmond. I'm the programme lead for the MSc Cancer Research and Precision Oncology and for the Cancer Research Specialisms. I'm also the PGT lead for postgraduate top lead for the School of Cancer Sciences and Deputy Director of Education. So you'll see a lot of me.
Good
Alessandro?
morning, everybody. I'm Dr. Alessandro Brombin. I'm a teaching fellow at the MVLS Graduate School, and I'm associated to the School of Cancer Science. I'm the specialist lead with Noah, that today couldn't be here, for the specialist in bioinformatics and the specialist in vivo skills. The exact name is preclinical cancer modeling, which changed it a little bit.
Times.
Still learning. And one of our first questions, can you give us a bit of an overview of the programmes?
I certainly can. I will share this slide. Okay, can you see that slide okay?
Yep, that's working.
Yep. Great. So both programs share a semester one set of courses. You'll excuse me, I'm looking away from my camera here because it's on my other screen. So semester one is shared across both programs, and you cover some of the sort of foundations of cancer biology really in semester one. So hallmarks of cancer is your nice introduction to it. You have cancer core skills, which includes a 1 week lab practical, top lab practical. And then you have cancer evolution, which looks more at the role of things like stem cells and cancer metastasis. And that's your last course before Christmas. In semester two, you start moving into the more specialised areas. So for those on cancer research and precision oncology, this was when you start learning about cancer immunology and immunotherapies, different precision oncology approaches, and then cancer drug discovery and development. And actually, I think for the upcoming academic year, you'll be able to take a course in emerging technologies instead of the drug development side of things. Then after Easter, you go into project design and data analysis, which is exactly what it says in the tin. It introduces you to principles of project design, and you'll be working closely with your project supervisor for that before starting your research project, which lasts for 12 weeks. And that's a piece of independent research that you will do in collaboration with your project supervisor in their lab. You also have the opportunity across the year to attend a seminar series, which is hosted jointly with the CRUK Scotland Institute and the University of Glasgow. And they are held twice a week, every week. So you really get a lovely opportunity to be exposed to some cutting edge research and that. Within the specialism route, so the one that's shown here is for the bioinformatics specialism, and you'll see that it differs only in its second semester. So you have 20 credits of omics and bioinformatic teaching in your second semester, and then you go into a research project that is specific to your specialism. So whether that specialism is bioinformatics, cancer pathology, preclinical modelling, you'll be looking at those specific elements in semester two.
Perfect. I suppose we're always asked about the project. While you're sort of talking about that, could you tell us more about the research project? So how a student would pick their topic, things like that.
Yep, absolutely. So throughout the year, you will be taught by a really wide range of different academics from the School of Cancer Sciences and from out with the School of Cancer Sciences. And my first suggestion would always be to speak to people whose research you're interested in. You'll be in lectures, let's say 3 days a week, and they'll all be taught by different people. So use that opportunity to speak to people about the research that you're interested in. And then the way we distribute projects is that we ask all of the group leaders to submit these projects to a central sort of pool, and then you, the students, will be distributed this list, and you have the opportunity to go in, select your favourites, and then we try our very, very best to match everybody up with one of their top choices. But I always really recommend to everybody that if there's somebody you're really interested in working with, if there's somebody whose research is particularly interesting to you, then don't wait until it's project selection time to start discussing it. Do actually make that contact earlier. It shows really good initiative as well.
Perfect. And what about the classes? Where are they typically held? Are they main campus or are they kind of moving about a little bit?
No, so our school, the School of Cancer Sciences, is based away from the main campus. So we are slightly up west of the main campus, on a very, very beautiful site. We're basically in a very big park, a big green park space with a river and lots of trees. It's lovely, particularly nice in the summer. So the vast majority of the teaching will be on that campus, and I typically try very hard to block teaching together so that you're not having to come in maybe for an hour every day. So there will usually be kind of blocks of morning or afternoon or a full day so that you don't have to come in every day. Alessandro can probably speak a bit more to the omics side of things.
Yeah, so second semester, if you take one of the specialisms, as I said, the bioinformatics specialism or the preclinical cancer model, the courses will be in the main campus, so in Gilmore Hill. So you will be in the middle of the central university, the central campus. So all bioinformatics courses are held in the main campus, so you will do basically all your second semester except the last course in the main campus. Whereas for preclinical cancer modeling, you will do one course in the main campus, which will be in vivo research skills, whereas you will go back to the Glasgow campus for emerging technologies. The third specialism, which is cancer pathology and AI, you will be in Glasgow most of the time, unless there will be some requirement for some specific labs.
Ideal. I will say if you've got any questions, please use the chat box and we'll do our best to cover those. In terms of timetabling, I'm assuming in terms of the days and sort of times of classes, that all becomes clearer when students register and start to pick their classes. Would that be right?
Sorry, you broke up a little bit, Naomi. Can you?
Sorry, I was just saying in terms of the timetabling, because we're always asked like how many days, how many hours, but once students start to register, that will become a bit clearer once they've got all their different courses in their diaries.
Absolutely, and it'll vary as well between different courses. So for, as I said, the majority of the cancer research and precision oncology courses, you will usually be on campus sort of 3 out of 5 days. But for your research project, you will be on campus all 5 days.
I do always find it funny because it's no 2 weeks are actually the same, are they? Because it just changes with the classes.
And I think that's probably quite a big difference between undergraduate sort of doing your first degree. I think it's maybe a little bit more structured sometimes. Postgraduate side of things, yeah, no 2 weeks look the same really.
And on that, I know that a lot of people are surprised when they start their masters. There's maybe less sort of contact time compared to the undergraduate. How much time are students kind of expected to put in out with classes?
Quite a lot is the broad answer to that. So I guess for context, when we are planning teaching, we assume that for every hour that you are in class with us, you're doing at least 3 hours of independent study around that topic. So there is a really strong emphasis on more independent study and more sort of self-directed learning. You're really you're developing more as sort of as an academic when you're studying at postgraduate level.
Super. And in terms of practical work, is there any practical work for students to get involved with?
Yep, absolutely. So for the Cancer Core Skills course, as I said, that involves a week in the lab. So you'll be in teaching labs for a week, and we're sort of getting everybody up to the sort of same baseline. Lots of people will come in having never had any lab experience. So you have a week-long teaching lab, and then once you start your research project, then obviously if that's a lab-based project, not all of them are, but if it's a lab-based project, then you'll be in the lab, and that's the sort of key bit of lab experience that you'll get as your research project. Alessandro, I don't know if you want to add anything.
Yeah, I would say second semester, if you take the specialisms, you will have a lot of practice. So obviously in the bioinformatics, it will be dry lab, so on a computer. So the average here is 2 hours of guided tutorial per hour of lecture for the bioinformatics courses. All the three are organized the same way. And you will have, of course, lab experience, practical experience in the in vivo research skill courses. So you will actually handle the animal and the models that you are studying.
Well, thank you. We've got a couple of questions through the chat, and you've kind of touched on them, so I don't know if these people, if one of them's joined a bit later, but it's asking specifically about breast cancer related research projects. Will there be any? And in terms of supervisor, do they need to contact a potential professor first to be the supervisor, or will that be chosen dependent on the topic that we choose later?
So obviously the projects change every year. So it's difficult for me to predict what projects there will be. But there has been at least one project on a breast cancer related topic, certainly every year that I've been running the program. So I would be reasonably confident in saying yes, there will be at least one breast cancer topic. You don't need to contact a supervisor in advance. As I say, we distribute projects via this sort of central pool, but you will be taught by researchers who work on breast cancer. So I would definitely recommend having a chat with them even just after their lecture.
I do. Another question was about the specialism programme, and they've asked if you need to specialise or can you choose a mix of the different programmes?
Yep. So you don't need to specialise. So obviously we have the Cancer Research and Precision Oncology, which is that's our kind of flagship masters, and that doesn't really specialise down a specific route. It's a bit broader. In terms of the specialisms, so you might not have seen the newer ones that are launching, if that's what you were referring to when you were looking at the structure online, purely because they're just launching for this new academic year. There is no strict requirement to specialise. You would be able to get the degree without specialism. You can mix and match the courses to an extent. There will be some courses that, for example, you probably couldn't take clinical omics if you hadn't done the two courses preceding it, kind of thing. But within some restrictions, then yes, you can take different courses, and if you want to just drop in on a lecture or two to listen to a topic that you find particularly interesting, then that's absolutely fine as well.
Just on this specialism, when do the students select that? Do they get a bit of time? Because I know that I've spoken to students, they come in thinking they want to do something and they end up doing something completely different.
Yeah. Um, yes, so there's no kind of strict requirement to have chosen your specialism until sort of midway through semester one. Um, what I would say is that the three specialisms that we have currently are all quite different. Um, so I think probably if you're coming in with a view to doing bioinformatics, I'd be very surprised if you then wanted to turn around and decide to do clinical pathology. They're two very different subject areas. But that's not to say that there's not scope to do that if you chose to. Equally, if you came in doing the bioinformatics specialism and decided actually you wanted to do cancer research and precision oncology, we can facilitate moving around a bit between the programs.
Great. There is a question in the chat, and it's about it's someone's background and what they've studied. Would it be appropriate, do you think, for them to email the email address that we've got? I'll share that with you. Just because if you want a wee chat about if your background's suitable before you sort of spend the time making an application, we can definitely look into that. So that's probably one better taking offline. I'll send a little email address to you following that one up. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I will add to that. We take in students from a really wide range of academic and professional backgrounds. Um, but yeah, as you say, Naomi, it's quite a hard call to make without seeing sort of a whole picture of any applicant. We would need to look at, what your academic background was, also specifically any professional experience that you have, and things like that. So yeah, but there is as I say, really, really wide range of students come in. So please do get in touch and we can chat through it.
yeah, I'll pop that email chat and email address in for you, and you can get in touch. In terms of assessments, how are students assessed throughout their MSc?
Um, so I'll let Alessandro speak to the bioinformatics side of things, but in terms of the sort of the core courses, so the core semester one and semester two for the general program as well, you'll be pleased to hear there are no exams. We don't have any exams to be sat for these courses. So it's all in-course assessments. And that will range from designing a scientific poster to giving a presentation to a lay audience through to writing an argument-based uh, written piece. Your research project is assessed based on your performance during the project, so your supervisor will have some input on that. A sort of dissertation style write-up and a project presentation. So there's quite a wide range of assessments. You'll never really be doing the same thing twice.
And in terms of the specialism, we have all in-course assessment like the other master. However, there is one single exam in case you take the preclinical model specialist, which is to give you possibility to have license to work with animal models. In all the other courses, we have in-course assessment, and in particular for the bioinformatics, you will have to analyze different bioinformatic data sets, transcriptomics, single-cell omics, or other types. And you will have either to write up and then or present. For the other courses, you will have more standard assessments, so presentation, essay, whatever it's the course lead decision.
Perfect. It's a real nice mix of different assessments, isn't it? That if you're not necessarily strong on one, you've got like other ones to sort of, yeah,
Absolutely.
practice different things, which is always good. Is there anything that students can do to prepare for their MSc before they start their studies in September?
I would say in terms of kind of general cancer learning, if you don't particularly have a background in cancer, it can be very helpful to do a little bit of revision of some of the core topics. So the first course that's mentioned there, Hallmarks of Cancer, I would say if you go and Google the paper hallmarks of cancer, and read through the however many iterations of that there are now, 4 I think. But have a bit of a look through that, and start to familiarize yourself with some of the terminology. I would say, you know, some experience in reading scientific literature. If that's not something that you've spent a lot of time doing, it doesn't even really matter what particular topic it's on. Pick a topic that interests you, but start familiarizing yourself with reading scientific papers, because you'll be doing a lot of it. And it's something that can take a little bit of getting into. I think those would be two of my sort of biggest pieces of advice, is just familiarizing yourself with less so with the actual content and more so just with the processes. Alessandro, anything else?
No, I would say that's a great advice. Don't go mental. Pick what you interest you. You don't have to become an expert before starting the master. And in terms, because this might be scary, in terms of coding, we start from scratch, so no experience is needed at any level.
Yeah, hopefully that puts everybody's mind at ease, because I think there's sometimes a panic that everybody will know more than you know, but everybody will know different things given, like you
Absolutely.
said, everybody's got a different background. Yes, don't panic. I'd also say just get here in plenty of time. The longer you've got here to settle in, and you're not having to panic about finding somewhere to live and setting up bank accounts and things, so you can just focus on your studies once it starts. We've got another couple of questions. Chatbox is very busy today.
No?
So there's been, like you said, the specialisms have recently been added for September coming. So some people might not have actually have seen those specialism options when they've applied. So this question here is about if you on one programme, can you still take other courses to pursue a specialism route? I suppose if you've applied for like cancer research and precision oncology, but you actually now there's a specialism that's quite interesting, is it easy enough to swap
Yes.
onto? Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely, no problem. The best thing to do is to get in touch with the program lead kind of early in the program. That's me, so you can talk to me. And absolutely we can facilitate moving you on to a specialism if that's what takes your fancy. The entry requirements are the same for both programs, so there's no concern there.
Perfect, because there is actually some more information to get added as well with just because it's still developing. And then someone else has asked if they're interested in pursuing a PhD, is there an integrated structure for this program in terms of like the research topic? Can they choose to start working on that straight away? That's quite a complex question.
Yeah, so there is an integrated PhD route for the cancer research and precision oncology, where you would do the masters, and when you start your project, you're basically starting your research project. But that is a different application process, as I understand. You apply for the integrated PhD rather than applying for the masters. So you would be best to maybe look at some of the admission, get in touch with admissions about that. But yes, there is an integrated structure for it, but you do have to apply directly to that integrated PhD, I believe.
Yeah, I think there's something as well as your funding. All your funding has to be set up as well for your full term. Another question we've been asked is about the research project, how it states that it's 14 weeks. Is this enough time to finish it on time? And then they've asked if there's any examples you can share for research topics that have been done in the past.
So let me pull out some fast topics. Alessandro can probably speak a bit to the length of the project while I'm finding this.
Right, the 12, 14 weeks are probably not enough to finish, but what is finished? Research is never really finished. I would say 12 to 14 weeks is enough to get you acquainted with the research question, to learn the technique, to present a story. So what we will ask at the end is that you present a story. One of the big things in research is when to stop. We could go on forever and ever, but here we put a clear stop so you can actually graduate and move on and choose your research topic for afterwards. You won't be probably able to publish in 12 weeks, but you have a flavor of what research is and what you like to do.
Absolutely, couldn't have said it better myself. So I've pulled out a few projects from previous years. So we have, let's say, investigating the regulation of BTN1 in colon cancer, role of FGF signaling in regulation of tumor immune microenvironment, targeting mitochondrial metabolism in leukemic cells, investigating the role of ephrin signaling in CML. I'm not going to keep reading out more and more projects, but just to kind of give you an idea of the fact that you will span lots of different cancer types, lots of different molecular pathways, lots of different methods. So you might be, doing live cell imaging, you might be doing immunohistochemistry, you will certainly be doing some bioinformatics if you're on Alessandro's specialism. So there's lots and lots of different things that you'll have the opportunity to do.
Nice. As much as everybody's doing the same program, everybody's also doing a different program, aren't they, depending on their interest, which is really nice.
Very much so. Yeah, the research project, I think, is what you really have the opportunity to take it and make it your own. The more you put into your research project, the more you will get out of it. And if you really kind of commit your time and your energy to doing a good job of your project, I think it's such a valuable learning experience.
I know from speaking to students, it's one of the things that all of them will say that was their favourite aspect of it, because you kind of get to do your thing in it, can't you? I suppose our last question, we've only got a couple of minutes left. Just what sort of careers and jobs do students tend to go on to do once they've completed the MSc?
Again, a really wide range. I would say about maybe 30-ish% of our students go into PhDs. We have students who go into research development in the pharmaceutical industry. We have students who go on to become, college lecturers. We have students that run community initiatives back in their home countries. We have a lot of doctors who specialise into clinical oncology. A really wide range of things. If you are a prospective student, or more so if you're a current student, if you go onto LinkedIn, you can find there's a School of Cancer Sciences alumni group that you should be able to join, and you can connect in there with people who've graduated from the School of Cancer Sciences master's programs, and see in there a bit more about what other people are up to.
It's also a nice way to get an idea of the jobs that you can actually go on to do, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, well, thanks very much. That was really quick. Hopefully, if you had any questions, we managed to answer them for you. But if you do think of anything else, please do get in touch. All of our programme web pages have got an email address for the admin team, and they're brilliant, and they'll get back to you with anything that you need. So yeah, I hope you all found that useful. Thanks very much to Alessandro and Laura for taking time out of their busy day to chat to us, and hopefully we'll see you all come September time. Thanks again. Bye-bye.